In March 2023, 44-year-old mother of 6, Angela Craig, died in a Colorado hospital after battling a mysterious illness for nearly 2 weeks. While the cause of her condition remained unclear during her final days, the truth would emerge with shocking speed after her death. A single suspicion from investigators began to unravel a dark and calculated plan. One filled with deception, lies, extramarital affairs, and even further murder plots.
You are under arrest. Okay, for screw murder.
Detective Wilson, thank you for doing the job you're doing. I really hope the truth comes out.
I do too. I really do.
And why did he want to kill Bobby Hills?
He said that she had stacked the deck against him and planted evidence in this case.
In March 2023, 44-year-old wife and mother of 6, Angela Craig, checked into the University Hospital in Aurora, Colorado, with the help of her brother. For over a week, Angela had been suffering from strange and unexplained symptoms. Severe headaches, dizziness, vomiting, and low blood pressure. Just 3 hours after she arrived at the hospital, Angela suffered a seizure. Her condition deteriorated rapidly, and doctors moved her to the intensive care unit, where she was placed on life support. Over the next 3 days, her organs began to fail, and she was declared brain dead. Roughly 10 days after she first fell ill, Angela was removed from life support, ending her brief and painful fight against a mysterious illness. Her medical struggle had begun earlier that month, when she first sought treatment at Advent Health Parker Hospital. She underwent an MRI, a CT scan, and blood tests. But doctors found nothing abnormal and sent her home. The next day, she returned to the emergency room, telling her husband, James Craig, in a text message, "My stomach feels fine, but my head feels funny and dizzy." Again, she was sent home without a diagnosis. On March 9th, Angela's children found her crawling across the floor at home because she could no longer stand. This time, she was admitted to the hospital and stayed until the 14th. Her discharge didn't seem premature. Her tests were normal, and her condition had appeared stable. But the very next day, Angela's symptoms returned with alarming intensity. She was admitted to University Hospital once again, where she experienced the seizure that ultimately led to her death. Her husband, James Craig, watched as medical teams rushed into the room, desperately trying to save her life. With Angela's condition still critical, one of the nurses quietly placed a phone call to the Aurora Police Department.
Hi, my name is Chelsea. I am one of the forensic nurses here at University Hospital. I am needing to make a mandated FBI report, IPV, and need an officer response. We have a suspected potassium cyanide poisoning.
Angela's husband, Dr. James Craig, dressed in blue medical scrubs, sat nearly motionless outside her hospital room. He watched quietly as doctors and nurses rushed in and out, occasionally being briefed and comforted by hospital staff. Looking down at his phone, James sent messages to family, friends, and the 6 children he and Angela shared, updating them on her condition and urging them to come to the hospital as soon as possible. One of his messages went to his business partner, Dr. Ryan Redfern, the co-owner of the dental clinic where James worked. Upon hearing about Angela's deteriorating condition and strange symptoms, Ryan arrived at the hospital, seemingly to offer support to his colleague. While James stepped away to make a phone call, Ryan quietly pulled a nurse aside for a private conversation. 2 days earlier, he and an employee at their dental office had accidentally opened a suspicious package addressed to James Craig. Inside the box, they discovered a container labeled potassium cyanide.
The husband is in the waiting room. The husband's business partner, named Ryan, who is also a dentist, was here earlier. we let him go home simply because he did not want his husband to know of the story that he told us. So he wanted to go home to kind of separate himself from that. He does not know we're calling you guys either.
Okay, that's
going to cause a lot of issues because he's wanting, my understanding is to withdraw care on her pretty quickly, and so we're trying to, get you guys involved and trying to figure out medical decision and all that.
Angela Craig was born in Kansas, the youngest girl in a family of 10 children. As an adult, she remained close with her siblings and cherished family gatherings. In December 1999, Angela married James Craig. Over 23 years of marriage, they had 6 children together. For the past 15 years, the couple had made Denver, Colorado, their home. Angela, a devoted member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, was deeply committed to her faith and her family. After her children, her religion was said to be her greatest passion, though her interests reached far beyond the church. She loved family history, interior design, woodworking, reading, and mystery shows. Just days before she fell ill, Angela had been visiting family in Utah, where she attended a genealogical convention with her sister, exploring her roots while spending quality time with loved ones. Her sudden death came as a devastating shock. The family desperately needed answers. In the immediate aftermath, investigators believed they had found them. Despite her husband's objections, an autopsy was performed on Angela Craig. The results confirmed the disturbing suspicions raised by James Craig's business partner. Medical examiners discovered that Angela had ingested lethal doses of cyanide and tetrahydrozoline, a chemical commonly found in eye drops, such as Vicine. Traces of arsenic were also detected in her system.
My name is Dr. Jim Craig, and I practice at Summerbrook Dental Group. My approach to dentistry begins with sincerely listening to the patient and wanting to find out more about where they're coming from and what they're looking for and what they want.
Aurora police obtained a warrant for James Craig's arrest and located him with his brother shortly after midnight on March 19, 2023.
Oh, how are you?
Okay, how are you doing? Well, yeah. Hi.
All right, Bob. You are under arrest.
Okay.
Okay, for screw murder.
The office manager, a woman named Caitlin at Summerbrook Dental, told investigators that she had noticed some strange things happening around the office. On March 6th, near the end of the day, she found James in the back medical area known as Exam Room 9. The lights were off, and he was using the computer. Caitlin thought it was odd, because James already had a computer in his own office, as well as a personal laptop that he took home every night. With this curious observation in mind, investigators focused on the activity from that specific computer. What they found was alarming. A search history filled with disturbing queries about poisons. Starting on February 27th, the history showed searches like, "How many grams of pure arsenic will kill a human?" and "Is arsenic detectable in an autopsy?" YouTube searches revealed videos titled "Top 5 Undetectable Poisons" that show no signs of foul play, "How to Make Poison," and "Top 10 Deadliest Plants That Can Kill You."
Poison. It plays a huge part in murder, mystery, and fiction. And in today's It's All Viral video, we're going to be bringing you the top 5 poisons that are nigh untraceable. Now, what you do with this information, well, that's up to you.
Even more damning evidence emerged when investigators traced online searches for chemical suppliers back to James Craig's Amazon account. On that account, they discovered a purchase of arsenic metal made on February 27th. The very same day Caitlin had found James sitting alone in the darkened exam room. The package was delivered to his home address in Aurora, arriving on March 4th, just 1 day before Angela returned from Utah. 2 days later, Angela was released from the hospital for the first time. But evidence showed that on that very same day, the computer in exam room 9 was used to place another order. This time for 1 milligram of oleandrin, a highly toxic plant extract. James ordered 3 vials in total. Fortunately, those packages were intercepted by FedEx and never made it to his office. But James didn't stop there. Investigators found a confirmation email for the purchase of potassium cyanide on March 8th from a company called Midland Scientific. In an email exchange with the supplier, James falsely claimed that he was a surgeon performing craniofacial reconstruction and that he needed the chemical to test metal layering. The company approved the order, and James requested that it be shipped overnight. That same night, at 10:16 p.m., James used his credit card to purchase 7 bottles of Visine eye drops from a local King Superstore, as if ensuring his supply of poisons would be more than enough.
The charges first-degree murder with
Or you can give them to him.
deliberation. And so
You take his gloves for me.
a bond won't be given until a preliminary hearing, which is usually within 30 to 60 days.
Just for you and the family, I mean, obviously this is shocking. From our standpoint, he's responsible for Angela's death. Okay? There's no doubt in our mind. Okay? It's hard to wrap your mind around that, and I understand, especially for these poor kids. But, you know, we would obviously take him into custody this quick if we were not sure in our minds from our investigation that he's responsible for her death. Okay?
Okay, so in this case then, are we just supposed to proceed through the funeral without him?
Yes, he's not going to be able to get out of jail.
I mean, if you
Will
guys...
he be able to attend the funeral?
No.
James sat down with Detective Bobby Olson, who read him his Miranda rights. The dentist appeared reluctant to speak openly. Yet he also seemed unwilling to end the conversation altogether. For more than 20 minutes, James talked with Detective Olson about his hesitation to share his version of events. He claimed that there was an explanation for everything, even for what, on the surface, looked like overwhelming evidence of his guilt.
Do you have an arrest warrant for the murder of Angela?
Oh my gosh.
So I know that, you know, you've expressed a few times that you have the answers and want to tell us. I just want to give you that opportunity.
I haven't had my phone, so I haven't been able to talk to the attorney that I reached out to. Because as you can imagine, this is terrifying for me. Mm-hmm. And you both seem very nice and like you're on my side, but I know how this works, and I don't want to incriminate myself or say anything stupid. Or there are answers, and this makes a lot of sense once those answers come out, but I don't know how to navigate this. I've never done this before, and I'm scared to death.
By the time James sat down with detectives, the data recovered from the computer in exam room 9 had already revealed a clear roadmap of how he had planned the murder of his wife.
But you have a warrant, so you're going to go to jail today. I can't change that. Do you have something to say, and maybe I can verify it, and that'll clear you and take away all the evidence that I have? Then I would submit all that to the district attorney's office, and they would submit it to the judge to say that. But again, nothing will change the fact that you're going to go to jail today.
And there's basically a straight up written, here's everything that happened from my iPhone that I wrote the night before you took my phone. I wanted to sit down and figure out the timeline so that I could remember exactly what happened and when. I mean, that's all there. But and so I don't know. I'm so sorry. I don't know, Detective Wilson.
No, you don't have to be sorry. I mean, this is a scary situation. We're not here to pretend that it is.
Yeah, it's really scary.
Along with the confirmation orders for various poisons, investigators discovered other emails that offered insight into why James Craig would wish his wife, Angela, dead. A new email account under the name Jim and Waffles Agmail had recently been created. In that inbox, detectives found multiple exchanges with a woman named Karen Kane, an orthodontist from Texas. Karen had met James at a dental conference in Las Vegas just weeks earlier. Over the course of 3 days, from February 22nd through the 25th, the two bonded quickly. They attended dinners and conference events together and soon began texting late into the night. By the time James left Las Vegas, he was already professing his undying love for Karen Kane.
So if you want an attorney, we absolutely respect that and understand that. You're not the first person to tell us that you feel more comfortable with that. We would just wait until you or your attorney reach back out to us.
I guess I probably better.
Wait for an attorney? Okay.
Detective Wilson, thank you for doing the job you're doing. I really hope the truth comes out.
I do too. I really do.
James's newly created jimandwafflesagmail.com account appeared to be used exclusively for two purposes: planning to poison Angela and rekindling his connection with Karen Kane. Karen had planned to travel to Denver on March 8th, the very same time James began researching and ordering poisons. Angela, who had just returned from visiting family in Utah on March 5th, suddenly fell ill the next day. Detective Olson didn't believe the timing was coincidental. However, investigators found no evidence that Karen had any knowledge of the plot. It appeared that James had deliberately deceived her.
Hi, Karen.
Yes.
I'm Sergeant Lawnecker with the Aurora Homicide Unit. We've taken Jim into custody for homicide, and I was wondering if you have a minute to speak with me.
Yeah, dude. Can I,
Yeah, get dressed, yep.
Investigators located Karen in her hotel room in Denver. She had traveled there to visit James Craig.
Unfortunately, I think he's told you a very elaborate story, of which probably most of it, if not all of it's nonsense. Obviously, we wouldn't take him into custody if we weren't confident about what we've seen so far and what we found. And, I wouldn't have found you at this hotel if we didn't know all this stuff that's been going on. I don't know what kind of communications he's had with you about his wife and what's been going on with her. We have noticed that you seem to come to Denver when his wife was in the hospital. And I don't know if that's just what kind of timing is, that is.
James told Karen that he had filed for divorce from Angela the previous month, but he hadn't. He also claimed that his wife had a history of self-harm and that she had previously taken medications from his dental practice in an attempt to do so. In reality, there was no evidence that Angela had ever done anything of the sort. As Angela's health began to deteriorate, James kept Karen updated on her condition, suggesting that his wife was somehow responsible for her own illness. He implied that Angela was depressed, possibly because of their supposed upcoming divorce. These false claims became the foundation of James Craig's story, that his wife had been poisoning herself.
Got drugs from his office? Like he got her drugs from the office?
No, he said when she had attempted in the past that he would have to figure out what it was that she took so that he could reverse it. And I was like, well, where would she get this stuff? And he said, well, she had taken stuff. She used to work at his practice, I guess, and she had taken stuff out of the safe, or I don't know how they store the meds in practice, but
he's never told her he wants a divorce. He's never told her. There's no talk of him moving out with the kids. She has no idea anything about a divorce. He's purchased poisons, and she's now dead because of poisons. A lot of the things he's told you, assuming you've told me the truth, are all nonsense. All right? You got my card if you think of anything or you got any questions.
Nobody, because he told me he had specifically requested a tox screening on her because of his concern.
It's because he knew that the poisons he used wouldn't show up.
You're suspecting cyanide, and cyanide doesn't show up on a...
Suspecting arsenic, I'm suspecting cyanide.
A tox screening?
We've got all of his search history for Google on him planning this whole thing out.
It wasn't just James's search history that raised red flags. After the orthodontist had some time to process the shocking information investigators shared, Detective Olson sat down with Karen to review her extensive correspondence with James. In just 3 short weeks, the two had exchanged more than 4,000 text messages. Among them were passionate, almost poetic notes from James, including lines like, "I want to forever breathe in the influence of your sweet perfume," and "The short version is that I love you, Sonar Kigo, my eternal love. May heaven let us bloom together forever." James also texted Karen frequently about Angela.
And then he's telling you she's not feeling well.
And then he texted me from work. We were just texting back and forth at work. And he was like, "Hey, super important aside. Kid said Ange wasn't feeling well, went to lie down. I couldn't get her to respond. She said she felt dizzy and has blurred vision. I came home and been doing homeschool with the girls, but she looks super pale. I'm going to take her to urgent care. She had some pre-workout drink this morning and rode her bike hard for about a half hour. I thought maybe she was just tired, but this is something more. Just FYI." And then at one point he says, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking about this situation?" And I thought maybe she was faking it because she was, trying to reach out, whatever. So when you say, and so I replied, "Well, when you say that you're seeing her pale, then that really quiets the voice in my head." He said, "I don't think we're thinking the same thing. I think she tried to hurt herself." I said, "Oh no, I wasn't thinking that, but I did think that initially, but maybe move away from that thought. Are they doing toxicology?" I said, "I can't think of what she may have done that would result in these kinds of symptoms."
Remarkably, while sitting in the hospital and watching doctors fight to save Angela's life, James was texting Karen, even sending her a photo of what he could see from inside the hospital room.
He said, "Feelings, I'm divorcing a woman who's the mother of my children who seems to be trying her hardest to die." She said, "It's making me feel super, super guilty." And then he sent me that she had crashed and they had intubated her and that her blood pressure was really low, 3 p.m.
The picture?
Mm-hmm.
It was around 3 p.m. when James texted Karen, writing "crash intubated," along with a photo from the hospital. The two had a brief phone call shortly after. About an hour later, James sent another message, this time saying he was about to tell his children that their mother had no brain activity. Karen replied with words of love and prayers for him and the kids. "Thank you. That's going to be so heartbreaking," James texted back. But just 20 minutes later, he messaged her again. "What you doing tonight?" By most accounts, Angela Craig didn't have much time for herself. But one thing she rarely missed was her morning workout, always followed by a protein shake. Those daily shakes would later become a crucial piece of the investigation. In fact, it was James's own words that led detectives to suspect the shakes as the delivery method for his poison. He told Caitlin, one of the dental office employees, that he'd added extra protein to Angela's pre-workout shake one morning because she'd been feeling sluggish. Soon after working out, Angela became faint and dizzy, and James rushed her to the hospital. Security cameras inside the Craig home showed James regularly preparing shakes for his wife. The container he used, the one with a pink lid, would later test positive for tetrahydrozoline, the main ingredient found in Vicine. What those same cameras also showed, at least in the days before Angela's illness, was what seemed like a happy marriage. James and Angela were often seen embracing, chatting, joking around, kissing, and exchanging I love yous. On the morning of February 27th, the very day James would create a new Google account and begin plotting his wife's murder, the couple were captured sharing a loving, casual moment. The kind you'd expect from any ordinary, happy husband and wife.
Hey.
Oh, how you doing? All right.
No, you got my heart.
Moments later, Angela picked up her cup and took a sip of her morning shake.
Bye, girls. Can I have a hug before? Love you. See you later.
The kitchen camera revealed more than just James's deceit. As Angela's condition worsened, it also captured moments of tension, an argument between husband and wife. After she was discharged from the hospital, Angela confronted James, accusing him of telling medical staff that she was responsible for her own illness.
They treated me like I was a suicide risk, like I did it to myself. And like nothing I said could be believed.
While in the hospital, Angela texted her husband, telling him that she felt drugged, though the only thing she had consumed that day was her usual protein shake. More accusations followed in their messages. At one point, James replied, "Given our history, I know that must be triggering. Just for the record, I didn't drug you." That message appeared to reference an incident from about 6 years earlier, when James had admitted to drugging Angela. He claimed at the time that he only did it because he intended to harm himself, and he didn't want her to wake up and stop him. There was no way to verify or disprove that claim. Angela's own search history, however, showed how desperate she had become to understand what was happening to her. Day after day, she searched her symptoms online as they grew worse. She may have begun to suspect that her husband was behind her mysterious illness, but she didn't know it for sure. On March 15th, the day Angela checked into the university hospital, James arrived shortly after to visit her. About an hour and a half later, he was seen returning to her room carrying a bag of food. It was around 1:30 p.m. 20 minutes later, surveillance cameras captured James emerging from a restroom near the nurse's station, holding a small object in his hand. Investigators would later believe that object was a syringe, likely filled with cyanide. At 2:20 p.m., James went back into Angela's hospital room. This time, he stayed less than a minute before stepping out to tell nurses that Angela was experiencing pain in her arm. Moments later, she crashed. James Craig was arrested and held without bond, awaiting trial for first-degree murder. He continued to claim that Angela had deliberately made herself sick. To fellow inmates, he insisted that police had ignored proof, containers of poison with Angela's fingerprints, which he said mysteriously disappeared after investigators searched his house. According to James, it was Angela who asked him to order the poisons. It was her plan, not his. He even accused Detective Olson of framing him. Convinced he had no other choice, James allegedly decided to fabricate evidence himself, and even plotted to have the detective killed. One of his cellmates, Nathaniel Harris, later came forward with shocking claims. He told investigators that James had tried to recruit him while they were in jail together. At first, James asked Nathaniel to find people who could testify that they knew Angela and that she had confided in them about her supposed plan to poison herself. He even offered to pay them. James also wanted these fake witnesses to use Photoshop to create pictures of themselves with Angela, making it appear as though they were old friends who shared deep personal secrets.
Some of my gang tattoos from prison, and he was asking me questions about those. That sparked off do I know anybody that would be willing to lie for him, to be a witness? I told him that I was going to my ex-wife, and my ex-wife and her sister would be more than willing to do that. And he said that there'd be a blank check, that halfway through, once they had convinced Harvey, his lawyer, that they were legitimate witnesses, that he would pay them both $20,000 or $10,000, half of it $10,000 at the beginning, and then $10,000 later down the line.
After James believed his plan had been set in motion, he began asking Nathaniel about hired killers. The dentist allegedly had 3 targets on his list. The first was an Aurora deputy, someone James claimed had treated him terribly after his arrest. The second was Detective Bobby Olson, whom he accused of framing him. And the third was a former cellmate named Rodney. Rodney had once agreed to help James find fake witnesses to testify on his behalf. But instead of following through, police discovered the scheme, and James became convinced that Rodney had betrayed him.
And he had told me the whole story about how he had basically done the same exact thing that he was doing with me and my ex-wife. And that guy had turned around and turned him in.
And why did he want to kill Rodney?
For turning him in. And somehow his daughter was involved in it. I'm not sure. I can't remember. There was so much information so fast.
When you say his daughter, James or
James' daughter? Jimmy. What
do you call him?
Jimmy. I call him Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Yeah, his daughter.
Jimmy's daughter, not Rodney's.
Yeah, Jimmy's daughter was involved and had gotten a Class 6 felony. I think he said, or was it him that got a Class 6 felony? I can't remember which one, but I know his daughter was implicated, and he said he was going to have to take the fall for that.
Another disturbing scheme was soon uncovered by police, this time from James's own daughter. From inside his jail cell, James had written her a letter filled with detailed instructions. He told her to buy a new laptop and use it to research how to create a deepfake video, one that would show her mother, Angela, speaking with him and asking him to buy poisons for her. Once the video was completed, she was told to destroy the laptop, discover the video evidence, and keep the entire plan secret. According to James, this fabricated video would prove his innocence. Because, he claimed, investigators had framed him. But instead of following her father's instructions, his daughter did something else. She took the letter straight to the police.
I've been around killers for the last 20 years in prison. And I can tell by just talking to somebody. There's a distinct trait that people that are sadistic and murderous carry. That's what has always intrigued me to even talk to him. But he swore up, and he was so happy all the time, right? And everybody's like, "Oh, he didn't do it. He's not even worried about anything." And I'm like, "No, he is. That's one of those traits." So I knew from the get that he'd killed his wife.
Nathaniel made it clear that he wanted no part in the witness tampering or murder for hire plots. He was already serving time for auto theft and had no interest in adding a life sentence for murder. Still, he paid close attention to what James told him. James wanted several people dead. A now retired deputy to be struck by a car, Detective Olson to be shot, and even his former cellmate killed. He didn't care how it was done, only that it was done.
A deputy that he said was just horrible to him the whole time he was in medical. Excuse me. And that was the guy that was next on the list.
So that was the one, so it's actually at ACSO.
Yes. He said that he had retired, but he had his known whereabouts and he wanted pictures, somebody to take pictures of his son getting on and off the school bus. He wanted to torture him a little bit. Then he said he wanted him hit by a car.
Okay, and what other targets did he talk about?
Bobby Olson.
And why did he want to kill Bobby Olson?
He said that she had stacked the deck against him and planted evidence in his case.
Okay, and did he talk about how he wanted to do that?
He told me he wanted her shot.
Opening statements in James Craig's murder trial began on July 15th, 2025. Prosecutors wasted no time. They showed jurors video evidence of James preparing protein shakes for his wife, the same container that later tested positive for one of the poisons that killed her. They played footage of him entering Angela's hospital room, carrying what appeared to be a syringe just moments before she suffered a seizure. Then came the text messages, his exchanges with Karen Kane, filled with declarations of love and promises that they were meant to be together. But Karen wasn't the only woman in James's life. In late February and early March of 2023, before his trip to Las Vegas, James began messaging two other women he met on Seeking.com, a site for sugar arrangements. On his profile, the dentist described himself as a multi-millionaire sugar daddy, eager to provide financial support for the right woman or women. He had done it before, spending thousands on extramarital affairs and even driving himself into bankruptcy. Angela had discovered his infidelity many times over the years. Her deep faith and her desire to keep their family together had always brought her back to reconciliation. But this time, prosecutors said, was different. Karen Kane wasn't a young woman looking for a luxury lifestyle. She wasn't after gifts, cars, or expensive vacations. The connection between them was genuine. And James Craig, they argued, had truly fallen in love with her.
Karen Kane was different. On at least the surface, right? He didn't meet her on Seeking.com. There's no financial arrangement to their relationship. And perhaps most importantly, she's not going to sleep with him. If he is still actively married to Angela, actively living at home as husband and wife. Three major differences between Karen Kane and the Seeking.com.
The defense countered the prosecution's claims by arguing that James Craig's affair with Karen Kane was no different from the many others he'd had over the years. Yes, he was unfaithful. But each time, Angela had chosen to stay, convinced by James to keep the marriage intact. To them, this pattern proved that there was no motive for murder. For James Craig, carrying on multiple affairs wasn't new. It was his normal. He was, they admitted, a serial cheater, but not a killer. Prosecutors, however, saw it differently. Even if his love for Karen wasn't motive enough, there was something else. Money. James Craig was listed as the beneficiary on 4 separate life insurance policies, all under Angela's name, totaling $4 million in coverage. The defense, in turn, shifted focus to a diary Angela had kept, one that revealed years of emotional struggle. Its final entry, they noted, was written 5 years before her death.
This was about a family who, looking in, Angela and Dr. Craig looked happily married. There were no problems. Angela's mental health seemed fine. Dr. Craig's mental health seemed fine. In that journal, though, you will see the struggles that Angela was having, right? Where she's talking about being isolated, where she's talking about the struggles of her relationship, that Dr. Craig's cheating and infidelity broke her. That Ryan Redford calls and is talking about the things happening at the dental office, right? That there was a package delivered and that package contained cyanide. It was over for law enforcement, right? They had tunnel vision.
James Craig's defense hinged on a detailed timeline he had written in the Notes app on his phone during the early morning hours of March 16th, the very day Angela was declared brain dead.
And there's basically a straight up written, here's everything that happened from my iPhone that I wrote the night before you took my phone. I wanted to sit down and figure out the timeline so that I could remember exactly what happened and when.
In his notes, James admitted to having several extramarital affairs. He claimed that when Angela discovered them, she decided that death was better than divorce. From that point onward, according to James, Angela began researching poisons that could kill her quickly and painlessly. However, Investigators found no evidence of such searches, only her increasingly desperate attempts to self-diagnose the mysterious illness consuming her. After several hours of deliberation spread across 2 days, the jury finally returned with its verdict.
That's the verdict form, count 1, murder in the first degree. We, the jury, unanimously and beyond a reasonable doubt, find the defendant, James Craig, guilty of murder in the first degree.
Among those who spoke during the sentencing was James and Angela's eldest daughter.
I was supposed to be able to trust my dad. He was supposed to be my hero, and instead he'll forever be the villain in my book.
James Craig was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Arapahoe County District Judge Shay Whitaker imposed the mandatory life sentence for the murder charge, adding a consecutive 33 years for the additional counts. Thank you for watching. If you found this case as shocking as we did, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think justice was truly served? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. See you in the next episode of True Crime Files.